What makes a star truly unforgettable? Is it beauty, scandal, or the chaos they leave behind? Elizabeth Taylor embodied all three. Every heartbreak, every stolen husband, every impossible demand only sharpened her legend and left Hollywood wary of her power. 2 Oscars, 7 husbands, $1 million contract that rewrote the rules of stardom. Elizabeth Taylor didn't inherit fame. She engineered it. She bent the studio system on paper with the $1 million paycheck, on screen with performances that critics couldn't dismiss, and in public with scandals so relentless they became part of her myth. From National Velvet to Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, from ingenue to institution, she taught Hollywood that beauty could be leverage, and headlines could be strategy. To understand how she became Hollywood's most feared star, we have to start long before the diamonds and the scandals, back in London, 1932. She was born the daughter of an art dealer and a former Broadway actress. Her father's gallery world and her mother's stage ambitions gave her a childhood steeped in culture and performance. When war broke out, the family left England for Los Angeles. Her mother, determined to see her beauty put to use, steered Elizabeth toward acting.
I'm going to sing a campaign song entitled Lemuel P. Twine for Mayor, and written by
yourself, stupid.
Gloria Ann.
and dedicated to the
Dedicated, darling.
Yes, Mother. Dedicated to the ladies of the Pawhuskett County Hysterical Society.
Historical.
At 9, Universal signed her to a brief contract, dazzled by her looks, but dropped her within a year.
I hope you won't worry too much about Lassie. I'll take care of her. Really, I will. I'll take care of her for you.
It was MGM that would seize the chance later, and they dressed her, scripted her, and presented her as the picture of purity.
Taylor was cast as Helen, an abused and dying orphan who becomes the title character's closest friend.
Helen? I'm not afraid, Jane. Helen? You must be cold. Lie down and cover yourself up.
At 11, she stole hearts in National Velvet, violet eyes and porcelain face turning her into MGM's perfect treasure.
The starring role in National Velvet.
Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer now presents this most human story of a boy, a girl, and a horse in all the warm tenderness of its modest, unpretentious sincerity.
I chose the horse, which was in real life, a total renegade. And I tamed him, and at the end of the film, they gave him to me because nobody else could ride him.
But the machine behind the spotlight left little room for childhood. Taylor was shuttled from photo shoots to interviews, steered into glossy teen romances that sold her looks more than her talent. Behind the perfect image, she felt caged, first by her ambitious mother, then by the studio.
When I was about 15 or 16, I did start to rebel, and I didn't like L.B. Mayer at all. I didn't like his attitude toward me, which was one of just a piece of property.
Years later, Elizabeth recalled the moment she fought back. When MGM's feared boss, Louis B. Mayer, berated her mother, she threatened to walk out and never return. She was only a teenager, but she had already learned a cynical truth. If they didn't fire her, it was because she had become too valuable to lose.
I was very much dominated by my family. Then, when the studio started trying to do the same thing, I rebelled.
Taylor's charms were put to good use in the 1947 comedy Life with Father.
Do you ever play duet?
You can't see it when you're playing the scene with her, but it's there on the screen, that marvelous technique of hands, eyes, voice, movement. There's an aura there.
I'll show you how much I like you.
Get up, get up!
That value grew quickly. By the late 1940s, she was no longer just a child star, but a young woman the studio pushed into adult allure. Makeup, fitted dresses, calculated glamour. Hollywood in the early 1950s was still a studio empire. Contracts dictated not just the films an actor made, but whom they married, what they wore, even how they smiled for the cameras. Father of the Bride, 1950, and its sequel, Father's Little Dividend, 1951, made her the nation's sweetheart. the picture of the perfect young bride. And off-screen, MGM staged and paid for the same image, pushing it at exactly the right time. Elizabeth Taylor, barely 18, dutifully followed the script. In 1950, she wed hotel heir Conrad Nicky Hilton in a lavish ceremony staged as much for MGM's publicity as for romance.
Beautiful teenager in the world. Excited fans see 18-year-old Elizabeth Taylor arrive at the Beverly Hills Church of the Good Shepherd to marry Conrad Hilton Jr., heir to a fabulous hotel empire.
The fairy tale collapsed within months, but it showed how tightly the studio choreographed even her private life. Yet Elizabeth was already pushing beyond the ingenue. In A Place in the Sun, 1951, opposite Montgomery Clift, she revealed a startling dramatic depth that critics couldn't ignore. For the first time, she wasn't just Hollywood's most beautiful face, she was an actress to be taken seriously. Giant, 1956, paired her with Rock Hudson and James Dean in a sweeping Texas saga, while Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, 1958, opposite Paul Newman, earned her the first of several Oscar nominations. By 1960, she had claimed her first Academy Award for Butterfield 8, a film she openly disliked, but one that cemented her as Hollywood royalty. Just a few years later, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, on 1966, would win her a second Oscar and silence the critics who still saw only the violet eyes.
She got on top of this 30-foot sphinx, was drawn through the arch, and instead of yelling Cleopatra, Cleopatra like they were supposed to, they went wild and screamed, Liz! Liz! And just in this wave of love, demonstrated their support for her. That's when the sexual revolution of the 60s was truly born.
And yet, to understand how she became Hollywood's most feared star, we have to step back to the role that changed everything. 3 years after Butterfield 8, Elizabeth took on Cleopatra, 1963, a film that would become synonymous with excess, scandal, and transformation, and would alter the course of her life forever. In the early 1960s, 20th Century Fox had one ambition: to outshine every rival with a spectacle so massive it would eclipse everything before it. Their weapon of choice? Cleopatra. Fox poured millions into colossal sets and jewel-encrusted costumes, staging battles with literal armies of extras. It was meant to be the crowning jewel of the studio's empire, an epic to rule them all. And at the center of it all stood Elizabeth Taylor. She was already Hollywood's highest-paid actress, and she knew her worth. In a move no woman had dared before, she demanded $1 million for the role of Cleopatra. Fox balked, then caved. Taylor got her $1 million and more.
Eddie answered the phone, and I was getting so sick of it, I really didn't want to do it. The first script was terrible. And I said, yeah, tell him I'll do it for $1 million and 10% of the absolute gross, which was absurd, and I meant it to be absurd. And Eddie came back and said through the door, he said, okay, it's a deal. I just screamed and dove under the water.
Her contract guaranteed her private hairdressers, endless assistants, luxury suites, even medical expenses covered by the studio. She wasn't just portraying a queen, she was being treated like one. But the production itself seemed cursed. Filming began in London, where relentless rain turned the colossal outdoor sets into a swamp.
In the winter, it looked like the Mediterranean.
The chilly English climate also took a toll on Elizabeth's increasingly fragile health. For years, she had battled bronchial problems and complications from her teenage spinal injury. On the set of Cleopatra, she was on the point of a physical breakdown.
She was carried to the set. She was so ill.
Then disaster struck. Taylor contracted a violent case of pneumonia. Doctors were forced to perform an emergency tracheotomy to save her life. And for days, the world believed Hollywood's most valuable star might not survive.
Picked me up by the feet and shook me like a rag doll. He pounded my ribs. Nothing.
It was even reported in papers that she had died. She was given an hour to live.
When she finally emerged from a London hospital in 1961, paparazzi cameras flashed as though a monarch had risen from the dead.
Back in the United States after her brush with death in London, Elizabeth Taylor is carried from her plane in a wheelchair. She takes the excitement like the true trooper she is, though she's still weak from her bout with an exceptionally virulent form of pneumonia. And now representing a triumph for the will to live.
She retreated to Los Angeles to recover, halting the film for months and pushing costs even higher. What began as a $2 million budget soon ballooned past $40 million, forcing Fox to sell off huge swaths of its historic backlot. Cleopatra nearly sank the studio.
I will what?
On your knees.
You dare ask the proconsul of the Roman Empire?
I asked it of Julius Caesar. I demand it of you.
Meanwhile, the off-screen drama was even bigger than the on-screen battles. On set, Taylor's chemistry with Richard Burton ignited a scandal that captivated the world. Both were married to other people, but they flaunted their affair so openly that the Vatican itself denounced it as erotic vagrancy. Paparazzi stalked them through Rome, capturing stolen kisses and champagne-soaked nights. For Hollywood executives, it was chaos. For Elizabeth Taylor, it was power, proof that she could turn even moral outrage into ticket sales.
The public was ready for the 60s revolution, and Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton just symbolized adulterous love that was celebrated.
Let's take a quick detour, because to understand why she became Hollywood's most feared star, you need to see the love affairs that turned her into the most watched woman on earth. Her first marriages to Conrad Hilton and then to Michael Wilding collapsed quickly, setting the stage for the scandals that followed. Then came Mike Todd, a charismatic film producer who seemed to match her fire. For the first time, Liz appeared truly in love. But in 1958, just a year into their marriage, Todd died in a plane crash. Elizabeth was devastated. In her grief, she turned to Todd's best friend, singer Eddie Fisher, who was still married to America's sweetheart, Debbie Reynolds. When Fisher left his wife for Liz, the press went into overdrive. Overnight, Taylor was branded a homewrecker, and her personal life became front-page news. On the set of Cleopatra, she met Richard Burton.
The first day on the set, he was hungover and very vulnerable, and his hands were shaking. He asked me to hold the coffee cup up to his lips, and I was gone.
Their chemistry was volcanic, their affair impossible to hide. It was so scandalous that even the Pope felt compelled to condemn it publicly. The tabloids dubbed them Liz and Dick, as if they were a royal couple, a dynasty built on diamonds, champagne, and public meltdowns. In 1964, Liz and Burton married, her fifth husband, his second wife. For 10 years, they lived a jet-set life of yachts, villas, designer clothes, and gifts so extravagant they shocked even Hollywood. Their passion burned as hot off-screen as it did on film. Violent arguments, tearful reconciliations, and a love story so volatile it couldn't last. They divorced in 1974, remarried the very next year, and divorced again in 1976. By then, even Hollywood wondered if their drama had finally gone too far. And still, every affair, every broken marriage, every headline only fed her legend. But her story didn't end there. Another marriage, to a U.S. senator, and later, a much younger man, would spark new scandals and push her life in directions Hollywood never expected. By the late 1970s, Elizabeth Taylor's story took another turn. She married U.S. Senator John Warner and stepped away from the screen to play the role of political spouse. But the quiet life of Washington left her restless. Without the stage lights, she felt isolated, sliding into depression, weight gain, and dependence on alcohol and prescription pills. And yet, Taylor refused to disappear. She reinvented herself again through business and activism. Her perfume, White Diamonds, became a global phenomenon.
And made millions for herself, selling her perfumes, the first White Diamonds.
And her fearless voice in the fight against HIV/AIDS made headlines when Hollywood stayed silent.
Men, women, children, and we must strike back. And with your help, we will, and we will win. Thank you.
She proved that power in Hollywood didn't belong to the studios or the system, but to the star bold enough to seize it. Not contracts, not the press, not even scandal could break her. Elizabeth Taylor didn't just play the game, she rewrote the rules and left the industry forever in her shadow. Was Liz feared because of the chaos she caused, or because she showed Hollywood who really held the power?